All right, Alejandro Fernandez. All right, I'm going to try to do this one more time. The sound was so effed up that nobody could understand it the first time I tried. So I'm going to try it one more time, and if this doesn't work, then maybe I'll just concede the point, just because there's no way I'm writing this out in a text, a message reply on YouTube, especially while driving or when I'm about to be home with my kids. So, all right, we know that the multiverse cannot have an infinite regress of splits into the past. It's logically absurd. You cannot have an infinite number of finite things. You can't have an infinite number of time. We know, so let's take the exact same logic we use to determine that the universe came from a singularity, more or less. All right? You can say that, oh, well, it didn't start at a single point. It started at, whatever. There was a point in time when there was no time. We can run the math backwards and we can see that that's the case. We look at the math, we look at the expansion rate of the universe. We say that the universe is expanding in literally every single direction at once, because there are stars redshifted in every direction. That means that the universe is expanding. It is expanding, and it's actually, I think, accelerating was the last thing I heard about it, is that the universe was accelerating, actually. So the universe is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And maybe there's a potential infinite in how big the universe can become. In other words, it will never reach a point where it may never reach a point where it's as big as it could possibly be. Maybe it could keep expanding literally forever. But that's a potential infinite. It's not a true infinite. The universe will always be finite in size, no matter how big it gets. Now, how absurdly or arbitrarily large it gets, the universe will always be finite in size. So we can run the clock back and say, okay, this is the expansion rate of the universe. We can run that clock back and say the universe started 13 billion years ago, because we can run that clock backwards and say if the universe is expanding at this rate and accelerating at this rate, if we run that backwards, we can see how long it would have taken to get here from a point where mathematics literally breaks down and there's nothing we can, the laws of physics break down and there's no way we can make a prediction before that. That point in time where all mathematics breaks down, there is no time before that. Time begins at that moment. Time as a construct. Time is not something that we make up. It's not arbitrary. It's not something we invent. It is a part of the physical structure of the universe. That is how come it can run different for different people moving at different speeds and in different locations. Time is not arbitrary, and time had a beginning. We have proven this mathematically, and experimentation has proven it over and over and over again. Is it possible that the experimentation is wrong? Yes. It's possible. Anything's possible. It's possible that the universe was created by unicorn farts. But science doesn't give us that information. We have what science gives us. To say anything else is faith. To say that anything else could be possible is faith. To say that the multiverse is possible is a statement of faith. That doesn't mean it's incorrect. All right, but let's look at the multiverse. You cannot have an infinite number of multiverses into the past. If every single time there is a potential where there could be two alternatives to an event, the universe splits into a separate universe for every possible event. All right, that's the most extreme version of multiverse. If that is true about the multiverse, then you can always take those splits and say, okay, if we undo that split, then we have this many multiverses. If we undo that, we have this many multiverses. There's never an infinite number of multiverses, and they will always collapse back into a first universe before any splits. Then eventually there are two splits, or maybe there was 1,000 splits. Maybe there was 1,000 different versions. You cannot take an infinite thing and split it into, take a finite thing and split it into an infinite. It is logically absurd. You can write anything on a sheet of paper. You can make a body armor, a variable on a sheet of paper. You can write anything down on a sheet of paper. That doesn't make it logically possible. It is not logically possible for there to be an infinite regress into the past, no matter how you define past. Therefore, an infinite number of multiverses is impossible. There is going to be a finite number, and there's going to be an initial universe.